everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. It is a repeating fall pattern, and I will show you exactly how to do it so that it repeats endlessly and seamlessly. So from my drawing right here, even you can tell that like the pumpkin down here repeats onto this pumpkin up here. So if you were to duplicate it and like make another one above it, everything would line up. The acorn stem would line up there, the stem for this leaf, etc. So same thing on the left and right side. This leaf lines up with this leaf. So we just draw the objects first, and then I show you how to turn it into a seamless repeating pattern with no gaps in it. And you can use that on all sorts of different things that patterns can be used on, and make any different types of patterns in the future based on this tutorial. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on my Patreon. That is linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out. And before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads on your iPad and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. It might end up on the bottom of your list of color palettes, so look for it down there if it doesn't pop up on the top. And there are no custom brushes or anything else to download. We will be using a different version of the monoline brush, but I will show you how to make it in the video. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and the layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we will be working with today. So to get started, we're first just going to set our background color, then we will draw each of the items one by one. We'll make duplicates of each of them and kind of spread them around our canvas, and then I will show you how to take that and turn it into a seamless repeating pattern that doesn't have any gaps or any breaks or anything. So again, let's first set our background color. To do so, we'll go to our layer menu, click on this background color layer, and click on this first color on the first row of the color palette to set it to that color. Go back to our layer menu, just make sure we're on layer 1 here, and we are going to first draw our pumpkin because that's kind of like our biggest piece. So to do so, we will grab this second color on the top row of the color palette first, and the brush that we're going to use for everything today is going to be just a different version of the monoline brush. So if we go and find our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, let's just go ahead and make a duplicate of it. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. That way we can leave the original one alone. Find our new one here, and to make it a nice smooth brush, we are going to click on it to open up our options. Leave everything alone except for under stabilization. We are going to turn the streamline up just a teeny bit to like 75% or so, and then the stabilization amount we're going to turn quite a ways up to like 60%. Go ahead and click done, and then you can see with your new brush it just is very like smooth and kind of follows you nicely to create some nice smooth lines that we are going for. We'll set the size to like 20%. Okay, to draw our pumpkin though, let's just kind of start in the center. We'll draw everything kind of big and then we'll resize everything later. So we'll draw a nice oval to be the center of our pumpkin. So a nice vertical oval. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. If it tries to turn into a circle when you touch your finger on the screen, it's just a little too close to a circle and it thinks that that's what you're trying to draw. So just redraw it a little more oval-like so that we can snap it to this vertical line here. So I'll just set a good size, fill it in. And then on each side, we're going to make another kind of oval. So we'll start on the right side here. So down on the top side just a little bit. We'll just make another curved line, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click this Edit Ellipse button at the top to adjust it. So I'm going to have the bottom ones kind of line up. The top one I'm going to have be a little lower than our middle one, and it's going to lean to the right on the top, like this a little bit. Not too much, but maybe something about like this. Make sure it's sticking out a good ways and fill it in. We'll just do the exact same thing on the other side. So left side here, Again, a nice curved line. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click edit, ellipse at the top, and then we can adjust it so they're pretty different. Like the other one was a lot skinnier, so we'll just adjust it until we can get a nice similar shape to our right side, or potentially redraw it if you need to. I'm going to go with something like that. They don't have to be perfectly even. So something like that, fill that in. That looks good. Okay, overall I want it to be a little bit squatter from top to bottom. So I'm going to grab my arrow tool, I'm going to set it to freeform, and I'm going to just downsize it a bit. So resize it if you need to. I'm going to make mine quite a bit shorter, like so. I think that looks cute. Okay, once you have the shape looking pretty good, we will go ahead and add just a small detail of the shadows inside where all of our ovals kind of meet. So on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab our next color in line, the third one on the top row. Same monoline brush, same 20%. And we are just going to kind of follow the curves of this middle oval that we drew to create a shadow next to it. So on the left side here, right where they meet at the top, I'm just going to draw a curved line, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click the edit arc button at the top to adjust it, but I just kind of want it to meet up like on the left side of this crevice here. So it's putting a shadow on the left side of it. Same thing at the bottom, so adjust it if you need to. Make sure the curve looks pretty nice. Okay, and then I'm just going to make another one right next to it just to kind of thicken it up a little. So do the same thing, hold it down, adjust it if you need to, but I just wanted it a little bit thicker there is all. And then we'll do the same thing on the right side. So curved line, hold it down, adjust it if you need to. That one turned out pretty good. I'm just going to go into my next one, hold it down. Okay, so then once you have two good shadows, we are done with that part. We are going to move on to the stem on top. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Drag our new layer below our orange pumpkin layer. Grab our next color on the top row, the fourth one in line. Same brush, same size, same everything. And we're just going to start on the middle here, like to the left of the middle behind our pumpkin. Draw a curved line going up and to the right. Hold that down till it turns perfectly smooth. Click the edit arc button if you need to adjust it. Just a nice good curve there. Okay, at the tip of this, we are just going to draw a small straight line angled like down and to the right. Pretty small, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, and then you can adjust it a little bit. And then from that point, we'll draw another curved line going back down. Just make sure it gets nice and thick at the base here. So thinner at the top, thicker at the base where it meets our pumpkin. Adjust it if you need to. Connect them at the bottom here, underneath our pumpkin, and fill it in. Okay, make any adjustments to this if you need to. I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool on freeform, and again, just make it a little shorter, maybe rotate it a teeny bit, kind of whatever you need to do, move it around if you need to, until we get a nice little pumpkin like this. I think that looks great. I might make my orange piece even a little shorter still from top to bottom. Okay, and then once you have everything in a good place where you like it, we will snap these two layers together on our layer menu so they're all on one layer, our pumpkin. I'm just going to grab my arrow tool and I'm going to move it up to the corner here so that we can continue on and draw our next piece. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer, and now we will just move right along to our leaf. So that's going to be with the first three colors on the second row. So I'll start with the first one, same brush, same size, same everything. And we are first just going to draw the leaf shape. So I'm going to start kind of at a point on the bottom. We're going to go curve this way, curve this way. Pick your brush up if you would like to, or you can just keep going. We'll curve up and back down, coming to a point up there. So this one's a little bit bigger than my side one was. Then again, we'll make another kind of small side one coming back to the center. Okay, and then from here, if you want to make any other adjustments, go ahead and do so. I might redraw this line to be a little different. I might hold it down to make it nice and smooth. Fill it in as you go. Kind of just clean up the shape a little bit if you need to. But otherwise, I think that looks pretty good. So again, it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical or anything. It can be kind of freeform, but, you know, thicken up any of your pieces. Might make this one a little bit wider. Fill in any gaps or anything. Okay. And now we will add the stem to it. So on our layer menu, add a new layer right above this. On our color palette, grab the third color on the second row. So we'll skip over the second one for now. Third color on the second row. Same brush, same size and everything. I'm going to start kind of towards the middle of this big leaf. Draw a slightly curved line this way. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, or straight. Mine turned to a line. Yours might have also. But when you let it go, just click this line button at the top and it should give you the arc option. If it doesn't, you might just need to redraw it a little bit more curved. But we just want a very slight curve, so just something like this. So again, maybe like halfway through this big leaf, going off the bottom. Okay, pen tool again, I'm just going to make it a little thicker at the base again. So I'm going to start at the same point, draw another slightly curved line, hold it down, switch it to an arc. And then again, yeah, we just want it slightly thicker at the base, so nice good curve, like so. Come to a good point in the middle. Okay. Then we will connect it at the base in like a straight line and fill that in. Make sure it fills in really nice. Cover up any gaps that might be left behind. And that is our stem. Okay, now with our stem in place, we're just going to go ahead and add some spots to our leaf. So back to our yellow leaf layer, click on it and turn on alpha lock. Switch to our second color on the second row. And same brush, we're just going to add some kind of blobs of this color. So like I'll just make like a little blob here. So again, this is where like our smooth brush really comes in handy. As long as you just go off the edges, you should be able to fill it in. If when you go to fill it in, it overfills like this, you just need to lower your threshold. So undo the fill, redo it, hold your pen down while you're doing it, and then drag it to the left, and you'll see this threshold at the top get lower. So you just need to lower it a good ways until it only fills in that bit. If yours is really high, you might have to do it a couple times, undo the fill, redo it, and drag it down until it just hits inside that one shape you drew. So we'll just keep doing some things like this. So some blobs we can just fill in with our pen or drag and drop them. Maybe some really small little circles. Some going off the edge, some not. We'll have one just kind of going against our stem here. So something just kind of like that. And then that completes our leaf. So once you're happy with the way that looks, we will snap those two layers together on our layer menu. So our stem and our leaf are on one layer. We'll grab it with our arrow tool. I will set it to uniform, and I am going to downsize it quite a bit and place it up next to my pumpkin. So my pumpkin should be bigger than my leaf, not by a ton, but you know, a good amount, maybe about like that. So I will go place it there like so. And we can always resize it more later, but that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Now we will make another leaf, a little bit different shape this time, more of like a stem with a few leaves on it. And so we will go to our layer menu, add a new layer. We will grab our first color on the last row of the color palette. Same brush, same size. We're going to first make the stem. So I'm just going to make a nice, just curved line in either direction. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Just a nice line about like this. Click the edit arc button at the top if you need to, or line button to switch it to an arc, but just a nice slight curve. Okay, on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Drag the new layer below our little stem that we just drew. Switch to our second color on the bottom row of the color palette. Same brush, same size. And we're just going to zoom in here towards the top of it. I'm going to start a little lower into the stem and just make like a teardrop shape. Fill that in. That's our first leaf, and then the rest of them are going to be very similar to that. So on each side, like on the right side here, I'll start and I'll do another one and then connect it at the bottom. So it's not going to be a full teardrop shape. It kind of connects to the stem like so, and then mirror it on the other side. Fill that in. Try to make sure your sizes kind of stay pretty consistent, so adjust them as you go if you need to. Like this one, I might need to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, we'll leave a space, do another set. Connect it, fill it in. Fill it in. So this one's kind of like connected to our other one. So then like for our last one here, I'll show you how you can do it all kind of at once. We'll do one side, we'll do the other side almost like a heart. Make sure they connect in the middle, and then you can fill it all in at once. Okay, so that is the start of our leaves here. Now we will go back to our stem layer again and go back to our stem color, the first one on the last row. And then within each of our leaves, now that we have them laid down, we're just going to extend our stem a little bit into them. Kind of coming from like the midpoint and then just going in a ways at the same kind of angle. So nothing too crazy, just like that. Okay, and then lastly, we'll go back to our leaf layer again, click on it and turn on alpha lock, grab our third color on the bottom row, slightly darker than the one that we used for our leaves, and now we're just going to make like a darker inner area. So on each leaf here, I'm going to draw like a little, just kind of mirror that shape. Fill it in with your brush, or you can try to drag and drop it. So then same thing on this one. Again, like this one came to a point at the bottom, this one won't. I'm going to start just on the line and then just kind of mirror it like that. Fill it in. Same thing on the other side. And this is, again, just where our smooth brush really comes in handy to help us get some nice smooth lines pretty easily. So yeah, so we're just kind of wrapping around this line that we just drew, just to add another kind of dimension to each leaf. Okay, so then once you're done, it should look like this. Make sure that you like the way that it looks, and then we will again go to our layer menu and snap these two layers together. So we have this leaf stem all on one layer now. Arrow tool on uniform. I might downsize it just a smidge, but really it's not that bad. It should be maybe a little bit bigger than our yellow leaf is. We still might end up downsizing that one a little bit more, but otherwise I think this is actually a good place to kind of stay for now. Okay. Next up and lastly is our acorn. So we will add another new layer on our layer menu. We will grab our first acorn color, which is the fourth one on the second row. Okay, so this is going to start the top of our acorn. So this one we're just going to do a nice little oval, so kind of horizontally. So a nice skinny horizontal oval. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Adjust the size a little bit. You can touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and then fill that in. Okay, add a new layer right above that. Grab our next color in line, the fifth one on the second row. Same brush, and now we're just going to make the stem for it. So similarly to like our pumpkin and our first leaf, we're going to have it be thicker at the top this time. So I'll start just kind of right towards the center here. Draw a little curved line going up, hold it down, not too big. Draw a straight line across the top at a slight angle. And then connect back to the beginning so that it gets thinner at the bottom. So another curved line, hold it down, thinner at the bottom, thicker at the top, and fill that in. Okay, then if you need to, you can move it around so it is on its own layer. So if you need to, grab it with your arrow tool, move it around just so that our base is kind of towards the center of our oval there. Okay, I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, so arrow tool on uniform, I'm just going to make it a teeny bit bigger. That looks better. Lastly, just the bottom of our acorn. So on our layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below our oval layer right there. Grab the next color in line, the 6th one on the second row, and we are just going to start on one side, a little in from the edge of our oval. Draw a nice rounded shape like so. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click the Edit Ellipse button if you need to adjust it. So yeah, just in a little bit on each side from our oval, extending a good ways at the bottom. Then grab our pen tool and we'll just connect it across the top underneath our oval there so that we can fill it in. That is it for our acorn. So adjust any of those layers if you need to. Like size-wise, you can make the oval smaller. You can make this piece that we just made bigger, smaller, wider, anything like that. I might make my oval a little smaller and then kind of recenter it here on my lighter piece there. Make sure my stem still looks nice and centered. And then once you like the way that all looks, just go ahead and snap those 3 layers together. And that is our acorn. Then again, arrow tool, and this one I will definitely downsize on uniform quite a bit. So it should be like a similar size to our yellow leaf. Okay. Now, these are all on their own layer. And now we need duplicates of them and then we'll move them around and stuff. We want probably 3 pumpkins and then fill the rest in with these other objects. And then we'll fill in some dots where they're needed just to really fill in our whole background. And we will also add a shadow to everything once it's placed. So first things first, this is all a little bit too big. I like the proportions of them though. The leaf and acorn should be roughly the same size. They should be quite a bit smaller than our pumpkin. And then our green leaf should be quite a bit bigger than our yellow leaf. So kind of like this. So, you know, almost like similar to our pumpkin, pretty big. So I like the way that they're proportioned, but they're just way too big for us to fit 3 pumpkins and all these extras. So if you like the way they're proportioned, this is what you will do to just downsize them all at once. On our layer menu, we'll be on one layer. We'll slide right on the other 3 so that all 4 of them are selected. Grab our arrow tool on uniform and downsize it a bit. So you can do the same thing if you need to upsize them, or if you need to do them individually, that's fine too. Just make sure they're all set to a decent size, like so. So I think this is better. So let's just start with our pumpkins first. So we'll grab our first pumpkin, arrow tool. It's kind of straight up and down. We're going to rotate it a little bit. So I'm first just going to rotate it to the right a little bit, and I'm going to place it down here in this bottom right corner. Not touching the edge or anything, just right about there. We'll make a duplicate of it, so slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab our arrow tool. We will click flip horizontal, and then we'll move it on up kind of towards this top, like middle left area, so a little above halfway maybe. So we're just going to kind of create a triangle with them so that then when we go to duplicate them, everything's kind of spaced out nicely. Okay. Layer menu, another duplicate, and this time we won't flip it, but we'll rotate it to the right quite a bit so it's kind of facing the other way. And then I'll place it up kind of in this top middle area. Okay, once that's placed, I might move this left one down a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of replace it there so they kind of make a little bit of a triangle. You know, we don't have to be too precise. It will look great as long as they're kind of just spaced out nicely. Nothing too close to the edge. Next up, we'll just kind of add everything else. So let's start next with our green leaves because we'll probably just do 3 of those as well. So we'll just ignore the leaf and acorn for now. We'll grab our green leaf. This one here, we'll just kind of maybe place right around here, just in between our 2 pumpkins. Okay, slide to the left and hit duplicate on that one. Arrow tool. Let's see, we'll first just rotate it quite a bit and place it kind of up in the corner right here by this pumpkin now. Okay, another duplicate, arrow tool. This time we'll flip it horizontally and kind of place it down here, maybe rotate it a little bit more, like so. Okay, now let's do our acorn. So I will find my acorn layer, arrow tool. I might make it a little bit smaller. We'll rotate it a little bit to the right, and then I might just place it down kind of in this corner here. Okay, let's make a duplicate of that. Arrow tool. We'll rotate it to the left quite a bit now without flipping it. Kind of place it up here maybe. Okay, another duplicate. Arrow tool. This time we'll click flip horizontal. And maybe I'll just place it over here. Might rotate it to the left a bit. Okay, so then those kind of make a triangle also. Okay, then we'll fill the rest in with our yellow leaf. So let's find our yellow leaf, arrow tool. I'm first going to downsize it a little bit. So this is going to kind of be our filler before the white dots. So we have 3 of each of the other ones. We'll probably end up with like 5 of this. So I'm going to place one just kind of over here. Make a duplicate, arrow tool. Let's see, we'll just rotate it to the right a little bit. Maybe place it down in here. Make another duplicate, arrow tool. Let's see, we'll maybe rotate it to the left a little bit. Kind of place it right here. Duplicate, arrow tool. Let's flip it horizontally this time. I'll rotate it to the left a bit and maybe place it up in here. And one more duplicate. Rotate it to the right this time and place it down in this corner. So I'm going to maybe move my pumpkin up a little bit so this isn't so close to the edge. So I'll place that there, and then again we can just kind of move everything else around still. So we'll grab some other layers as we need to. Move them around, space things out a little bit differently. So just kind of play around with things. Like I might move this green one down just a little bit, not that one. It's kind of a guessing game on which layer you're on. But just kind of space things out pretty nicely. So I think that looks pretty good in terms of just, you know, nothing's too close together. There's no really big open spaces anywhere. I think that looks great. So once you have everything in a place where you like it, we are going to flatten these all together. So on our layer menu, we're just going to pinch them all together little by little till we get them all on one layer, like so. We can still move things around if you need to. Even with this, we would just grab it with our selection tool on freehand, select around it since nothing's overlapping, and like move it around. You know, that's totally fine. Okay, but we had to flatten them so that we can get our shadow. So to get our shadow, we'll go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of our layer with all of our objects on it. Select the bottom one, click on it, and turn on alpha lock. Grab our 4th color on the bottom row of the color palette. It's slightly darker than our background color. And on our layer menu, we'll just click on this layer and click fill layer. So you won't see it on your canvas yet because it's behind this layer with all of our colored objects. But on your layer menu, you should see that it changed color. If you grab your arrow tool and move it down and to the right a little bit, you should see the shadow start to stick out. Make sure you're not going off the edge anywhere. So if anything's too close down here, move your other layer up and to the left, your colored layer. So we don't want anything going off the edge. Okay, but a nice good shadow there. Make it as far away as you would like to. Maybe I'm going to go a little bit closer. Okay, and then we just need to blur it a little bit so it looks more like a shadow. But first we need to turn off alpha lock. So on our layer menu, click on this layer, turn off alpha lock. Wand icon, Gaussian Blur, and we'll drag this up to like 5%. Nothing too crazy, we just want a little blur to the edges, like so. Okay, and then with that done, we can add our white dots. We didn't want a shadow for our white dots, so on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very top of our layer menu. Grab our white color, the 5th one on the bottom row. Same monoline brush, let's just set it all the way to 100%. And this is how we will make some dots. So just in some of these open spaces, we'll just kind of make a dot here and there, just to kind of help fill it out. Nothing going off the edge. Again, just kind of evenly placed. A nice good like amount, you know, so not like too many on the right side and none on the left side. So just kind of try to make them pretty even. Okay, and then this is where we start. So we are now going to start the repeating pattern process. So this isn't our repeating pattern yet. This is just the start of it. So nothing is touching the edge. That's the most important rule. Nothing is going off the edge. Okay, so on our layer menu, these are our layers now, I am going to make a duplicate of these so that we don't mess up what we have. So on our layer menu, with one selected, slide right on the other two and click group. I'm going to minimize the group, make a duplicate of it. The bottom group I am going to uncheck so it's turned off, and the top group we will flatten. Okay, so then this group down here is just left alone in case we want to come back and make any changes to it. This one here now is flattened, the shadows, the dots, and all of our objects. And now to make our repeating pattern. So on our, let me just show you what it would look like without doing what we're about to do. So you're not doing this, but I just wanted to show you. So if this is how we would originally, based on this, make our repeating pattern, and that's why I'm going to show you the next step is so important, is if we were to just repeat this pattern, there is a lot of open space, so it would kind of work, but here is what it would look like if we just plugged this into a repeating pattern thing. So I will just downsize each of these till they're like a quarter of the way in each corner. Oh, and I didn't turn that other one off. So like this would be our repeating pattern. And while it's not bad, it's just very obvious that there's like an empty space in the middle vertically and horizontally. There's like a huge just gap like right here and right here where there's no objects touching. And the more that you repeat it, the more obvious it'll be that there's just like squares of pattern, especially if you have more objects than this one. So that's why this next step is going to be very important. So I am going to just go back to our original. So I'll just delete all these again and make another duplicate of my group and flatten it. So this is what we started with. So this is the next step that's going to be very, very important for any repeating pattern that you create. Just with our flatten layer here, we make 4 duplicates of it. And I'm just going to start with the bottom one, and we're going to go up into the left corner. So grab it with your arrow tool, make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left, and we will drag it up and to the left into our corner here until we see a yellow line on the left edge and a yellow line on the top edge. That's where we stop. So not these yellow lines in the center, but the ones on the edges here. So yellow line on the left, yellow line on the top, stop there. Grab our next one, arrow tool up and to the right, same thing. We should see a top yellow line and a right yellow line. The next one will go down into the left. We'll see one on the bottom and left side. And then this one will go down and to the right. Down and to the right until we see a yellow line on the bottom and a yellow line on the right side. Okay, and then even here you can kind of see like a very evident plus sign in the middle here. It's not as easy to see because we do have a lot of open space here. But there's just a very evident like empty space right through the middle, vertically and horizontally. So all we do is we go to our layer menu, we snap all 4 of these layers together, so they're all on one layer. And this is now going to be our repeating pattern, but what we can do now is just move some stuff around. So with our selection tool here, like I will select around this acorn. I will grab my arrow tool and I will just move it down a little bit so it's kind of in this area where that like horizontal line was. Same thing here, I might grab this one, rotate it a little bit more, move it down a little bit. Maybe we'll grab like one of the white dots, move it towards the center, things like that. So we shouldn't need to do a whole ton. Make sure you select the object and its shadow. But yeah, we shouldn't need to do a whole ton of stuff, but just enough to really kind of make this picture just a little bit more solid. And again, if you have a very busy picture, it will be very evident when your objects aren't touching the edge. But just a slight modification there. And then this is now your repeating pattern image. So as you can see, like where the pumpkin falls off on the top, it comes back in on the bottom. Same thing with like our leaves on the left side here, it comes back in on the right side. So to show you how it works, like even this pumpkin, a little sliver is missing on the left, it's repeated on the right. So now to show you how the pattern will work, here is what we will do. We will go to our layer menu, we'll make a duplicate of this layer, again, 3 times, so we have 4 total. So we have 4 of these. Okay, now this time instead of moving them off the screen, we're just going to downsize them. So we'll find our bottom one again, arrow tool, uniform. It touches the edges all the way around since it goes off of them. We'll just grab our bottom right one. Since we're going to put this one in the top left, we'll grab our bottom right dot, drag it all the way up until we see our center yellow lines here. So the vertical and horizontal center yellow lines in the middle. Okay, next one, we'll do the top right corner. So we'll start at the bottom left till it hits the center. This one will go down into the left till it hits the center. And this one down into the right until it hits the center. And then this is our perfectly repeated pattern. So you can zoom in anywhere where they met, and you will not see any gaps or anything. And it looks totally full, totally complete. There's no lines in the middle or anything that mess it up. So it is just totally seamless. You can put this on tons of different stuff. If you're like on Redbubble or Society 6, you'll know that like you can put a repeating pattern on anything. You can make a blanket out of it, a phone case, a shower curtain, you know, really just anything like that. It would also make a great phone background. You could save this picture as is and just crop it to like the size of your phone background, and that would make a very cute little background for that, or for your iPad or your laptop or anything else. So again, we saved an original of our original pattern. So like, for example, like these acorns are right next to each other. That doesn't bother me a ton, but maybe it bothers you and you want to move your acorn. You would just go back to your original design. So I'll turn all these off. And then the acorns that are next to each other is because this top one and this top one and this bottom one, when they repeat, they go right next to each other. So you could somehow change that. Maybe move this one further down to the corner and this one like further that way. So you know, if we had our original flattened layer again, we could just grab like our acorn here, move it down into the right. This one, move it like down into the left, and then when we go to repeat it, they might be further apart. We'll move some dots around and stuff. So that's why we keep this original, just in case you want to make changes to it. So then this is what we are left with, and this is the completion of our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. I hope that you maybe learned something new. I hope that you can use this in some future fun drawings. I love patterns. I think they're so fun to make. You can make them for all different seasons and, you know, just different objects, different groups of objects. I think they're so fun. So if you would like to see more tutorials from me in the future, make sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to check out any of my extra tutorials over on Patreon, again, that is linked in the description below. And then if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.